I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game.
She's the only player in the league that will say this shit. She's the only player in the league. Like, you won't hear Angel Wilson going out there. I am at the top of the scouting report. Ariel Atkins is at the top of the scouting report for your team. Camila Cardoso is at the top of the scouting report. Teams just box you out.
One player believes she's the undeniable reason women's basketball exploded. Not just a part of it, but the driving force, claiming rival teams lose sleep over her every move. But what if the truth behind the league's biggest drama reveals a starkly different reality? What if the player demanding credit for the entire revolution isn't the one everyone's actually watching for, or even truly scouting?
The reason why I feel like she isn't unfairly criticized is because I'm not gonna go into the bad guy, good guy. At the end of the day, Angel faces everywhere, right? And so when we talk about marketability and her inability to finish, her inability to do certain things, I think it goes to that. So I'm gonna keep it a band with you. I agree that if she gonna be the aggressor, then be the aggressor. At the same time, if you're gonna throw punches, you gotta take them. And so I felt like, to your point when you said, I bet she did. You can't see me because Caitlyn did it. Right. Absolutely right. But now when you come in the league, right, and you fall in, you know what I'm saying? You got your 13 and 13, but now it's not translating to winning.
This isn't just about basketball. It's about a gripping psychological drama, a high-stakes, deeply personal battle for narrative control, and a relentless, almost desperate quest by one player to claim her rightful, undisputed place at the absolute pinnacle of this new era.
If Angel Reese was someone who ever held her tongue and was someone who had been a no-comment machine in the past, someone who wasn't so unapologetically Angel, if all those things existed, people wouldn't look at her recent no comment and just say, you've always had a comment before.
What you're about to uncover will meticulously peel back the multiple layers of public perception and media frenzy, revealing the intricate, compelling, and ultimately entertaining game being played both intensely on the court and masterfully off it. Get ready to witness a clash of bold claims and cold facts that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew.
Please tell me it's a fake quote. Please tell me this is a fake quote. Because this is something where it's like, everyone says, and it's like, oh, Angel's a developing player. It's like, oh, she's only in year 2. Why is everyone like going at Angel Reese and all this stuff? And, you know, oh, people can't stop talking about Angel Reese.
Angel Reese has, by all accounts, never been one to mince words, to hold her tongue, or to shrink from the brightest, most unforgiving spotlight. Her confidence, often audacious and sometimes bordering on the truly brazen, has remained a defining hallmark of her career, from her famously dominant college days at LSU, where she cemented her Bayou Barbie persona, to her highly anticipated and undeniably impactful arrival in the professional ranks of the WNBA.
But I will say, Angel Reese, Ronnie and I have debated it on the program. Ronnie has been pretty clear that he thinks that she sucks at basketball. I have defended her as having dimensions of her game that are high level. I got to a point here a couple of weeks ago where I was starting to wonder if she actually
with the
sucks.
league's spotlight now shining with an unprecedented intensity, amplified dramatically by the seismic, once-in-a-generation impact of Caitlin Clark, Reese evidently decided the moment had arrived to make an unmistakably bold declaration. A statement so direct and forceful it sent reverberations across every major sports news cycle.
Of scouting reports after talking to some teams, even if it's not offensively. Which I think that's what it is. You know, she is the best rebounder in the WNBA. So they're probably telling them like, hey, we have to figure out how to keep Angel Reese out of that paint when that ball is clanging off of that rim, okay? You know, the fact that Angel Reese finds Cardoso for the high-low post pass. I think that's one of the main things that the Chicago Sky like to get to if it's not the pick and
She
roll.
asserted with unyielding conviction and a gaze that dared anyone to contradict her. I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too. It was far more than a mere claim of shared credit. It was a gauntlet emphatically thrown down, a defiant, almost confrontational challenge hurled directly at anyone who dared to attribute the league's staggering, unprecedented popularity primarily, or even solely, to a singular generational talent. She wasn't just vying for a proportional share of the burgeoning pie, she was, in essence, demanding credit for having meticulously baked the entire delicious thing herself.
Completely criticize Angel Reese because Tyler Marsh condones this. Tyler Marsh reinforces this. Tyler Marsh is this point forward Angel Reese. This is Tyler Marsh's deal. This is Tyler Marsh's gig. In order to get Camila Cardoso the ball, he needed to fix some things up, switch some things around. And in this most recent preseason game, a game in which Angel Reese had 3 rebounds, I'll take that every day of the week.
And then, as if that wasn't audacious enough, she unleashed an even more astonishing claim, one that seemed to defy the very fabric of on-court reality, stating unequivocally that opposing teams across the entire league were losing precious sleep over her specific threat. Angel Reese is at the top of the scouting report. According to her own impassioned narrative, coaches are burning the midnight oil, their coffee mugs trembling in their hands, meticulously dissecting her every move, whispering to themselves in hushed, frantic tones, "How in the world do we stop Angel Reese?" It painted a vivid, almost cinematic picture straight out of a Hollywood sports drama where she stands as the unyielding, strategic mastermind, the primary, terrifying threat that keeps seasoned defensive coordinators aging in dog years, desperately searching for solutions.
My gosh. Is this for real? Is this really for real? But I'm going to show you this video because if you haven't seen it yet, you're going to absolutely fall out of your chair laughing. I know what I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this the curse of Dave Portnoy. Barstool Sports El Presidente. He went on a rant about that Ryan Clark stuff, and he said all he had to say about Angel Reese and Ryan Clark and that whole mess. And I will say this, his rant cursed Angel Reese because she proceeded to have the absolute worst game of
But pause for a critical moment and consider the immediate, widespread fallout. For a player whose typical stat lines often inspire little more than a polite shrug of indifference rather than a seismic shockwave across the league, these grand declarations ignited an absolute firestorm of debate, fueling endless discussions and arguments, constantly begging the crucial, central question: are these seemingly hyperbolic statements a faithful reflection of the actual, undeniable reality unfolding on the hardwood? Or are they, perhaps, a meticulously constructed, self-serving narrative echoing from the very deepest recesses of an unshakable, almost unearned self-belief? The initial reactions among fans, analysts, and fellow players ranged from outright amusement to genuine bewilderment, compelling us all to dive deeper, to courageously peel back the multiple layers of public perception and expose the raw, unfiltered truth beneath.
I'm trying to stay consistent as possible. Obviously, I struggled in the first couple of games, and just staying poised, trusting my work. I have great people in my corner. I never really questioned my ability of what I can do. Obviously, you go up and down through your career. And thinking in the beginning it's going to be my sophomore slump, but I got out of it in my first couple of games, and I'm here. I'm helping the team win as much as I can. That's the most important thing to me. I'm happy.
You mentioned Sunday about those first few games. At what point do you feel like you maybe had kind of that like switch foot moment of feeling like you were getting back on the level?
I think I started a New York
Let's be
game.
brutally honest and talk about the cold, hard numbers. Because in the unforgiving, results-driven, hyper-competitive world of professional sports, the scoreboard, the stat sheet, they don't just speak softly, they scream the unvarnished, undeniable truth with deafening clarity. While Angel Reese stands confidently perched on her self-proclaimed pedestal, passionately declaring her indispensable, league-altering impact on the game's trajectory, her actual on-court statistics often tell a profoundly different, far more subdued, and frankly, disappointing story.
Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you're
Next
getting
question.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Angel Reese is a very good player, but she's ugly to watch. Have you watched her play? She's a typical WNBA. She's great on the offensive glass, rebounding, but watching her play, terrible layups. The reason people are captivated by Clark is the way she plays, like Steph Curry. And the thing that I don't like people making it race. I don't think it's in the league that's race. It's jealousy that she's so popular. But there's lots of major white female WNBA megastars that nobody cared about.
Just one truly standout game-changing performance this entire WNBA season that momentarily made people pause, sit up, and genuinely exclaim, "Oh, okay, that's the Reese we were promised, the dominant force we remember." The rest of her appearances? A veritable buffet of meh moments, characterized quite jarringly by more missed layups than actual WNBA wins. Moments of inconsistency and inefficiency that utterly shatter the carefully constructed illusion of an unstoppable dominant force destined to reshape the league. Yet, with an almost unbelievable, unwavering conviction that defies empirical evidence, she steadfastly maintains that she's being triple-teamed every single game, that collapsing, desperate defenses are her everyday, routine reality. If defenders are indeed swarming her with such intensity, it's far more often by happy accident, a beneficial side effect of their primary objective to try and contain someone else entirely, or simply the natural, chaotic flow of a broken play.
Team wasn't any good. Yeah, that's basically what she said, is that her team wasn't any good. And it's rather amusing to listen to, but you know, if I didn't play it for you, you wouldn't believe it. But yeah, this is Angel Reese again, running her mouth and saying some stuff that you probably shouldn't say about your own team, but that's what she does.
The notion that teams are burning through film to stop her from dropping 40 points is, quite frankly, an assertion so detached from reality, it's laugh-out-loud funny when contrasted with her typical, modest offensive output. Now, juxtapose this with the electrifying, undeniable, and consistently spectacular reality of Caitlin Clark. She's not just playing basketball, she's actively rewriting history like it's a college thesis due at midnight, casually breaking records with every shot, stacking assists with effortless grace, and confidently launching threes from the logo like she's merely ordering takeout from her favorite restaurant.
It's time to put the Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese conversation behind us. Caitlin Clark is unanimously our Rookie of the Year, and eventually she'll be the best player in the WNBA. And Angel Reese? Well, she's in the WNBA. Angel Reese is shooting 43.8% from inside 5 feet this year on 274 attempts. Now, let's think about some things that are more likely to happen than Angel Reese making a shot from inside 5 feet. Shaquille O'Neal making a free throw. Diana Taurasi hitting a three. Patrick Mahomes going to the Super Bowl. We can argue this until we're blue in the face,
Teams
but
aren't
numbers
just scouting Clark with a passing glance. They're literally drawing up entire, intricate game plans, dedicating precious, painstaking hours of film breakdown, sacrificing sleep and sanity in the desperate hope of even marginally slowing her down, of containing her boundless offensive eruption. There are guards in this very league, less celebrated but undeniably impactful, who command more frantic defensive attention, who receive more panicked double teams than Angel Reese typically garners in extended post-game highlight reels.
Article right here, man, released talking about Chicago Sky coach sends strong Angel Reese message after loss to Indiana Fever, right? So let's read what it says here. Chicago's loss to the Fever forced them to 2-5 on the season. They were finally gaining traction, winning back-to-back games against the Dallas Wings before they faced off against the Fever. After the loss to Indiana, Chicago Sky head coach Tyler Marsh responded to a question on Angel Reese's struggles, finishing the game against the Fever with 4 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. Marsh mentioned that he doesn't believe Reese struggled to make an impact against the Fever despite shooting 28.6%.
While Clark is
from the field.
meticulously, consistently, and unbotheredly crafting a legacy that will undoubtedly transcend generations, leaving an indelible mark on the sport, Reese's box score often seems to be tragically caught in a perpetual, frustrating loop, engaged in a losing battle against its own previous, underwhelming iterations. It's a stark, undeniable statistical disparity that makes her bold, confident proclamations of equal footing feel less like genuine, earned confidence and far more like a meticulously constructed narrative running on fumes, desperately trying to keep pace with a scorching reality that has long since sprinted miles ahead. So the critical question then becomes, if Angel Reese isn't exactly lighting up the scoreboard with consistent, record-breaking offensive displays that demand a triple team, what precisely is at the very top of an opposing team's scouting report when it comes to her presence on the court? It's almost certainly not her offensive bag, which, by her own team's coach's candid admission, has frankly seen its fair share of struggles and inconsistencies. Instead, the actual, meticulously crafted scouting report on Angel Reese likely reads more like an intricate character analysis or a psychological profile of a volatile yet compelling competitor, rather than a traditional player breakdown focused on complex offensive sets or intricate defensive schemes. Coaches are probably circling her name on their pristine whiteboards with stark, direct, and pragmatic notes like, primary directive, contain the antics, not the stats. Or, even more tellingly, critical objective, prevent her from going full soap opera in the third quarter. Her undeniable ability to draw fouls, her relentless, often unmatched prowess on the offensive glass, a fact confirmed by data, she is indeed the best rebounder in the WNBA, an objectively high-level and crucial dimension to her overall game, and her well-documented tendency to engage in mid-court drama, fiery verbal exchanges, or impassioned interactions with officials. These are undoubtedly the key elements that demand specific strategic focus. But rest assured, those intense strategic timeouts and detailed whiteboards are almost certainly not being dedicated to deciphering how to thwart her pick-and-roll game, or how to neutralize her jumper from the elbow. They are far more likely focused on how to keep her out of devastating foul trouble that can sideline her prematurely, or how to strategically navigate and even leverage her emotional outbursts to gain a crucial competitive advantage. When she confidently claims that teams are burning the midnight oil, their lights dimmed, their coffee mugs trembling in their hands, whispering in hushed, almost frantic tones, "How in the world do we stop Angel Reese?" The true internal monologue of those seasoned, pragmatic coaches is probably less about her offensive repertoire and far more about preventing her from throwing another sarcastically defiant clap after a call doesn't go her way, or managing the sheer, raw intensity she injects into the game. It's about containing the very specific brand of chaos she injects into the game, leveraging it to their strategic advantage, rather than neutralizing a consistent, top-tier offensive threat who dictates the flow of the game. It's a remarkable hustle, truly. The uncanny ability to turn what often amounts to average or even subpar on-court performances into elite-level narrative manipulation is a unique skill in itself. But it's the kind of unearned, almost childlike self-assurance usually reserved for toddlers in oversized superhero costumes, utterly and completely detached from the grinding, gritty, results-oriented reality unfolding on the professional hardwood. This isn't just a rivalry anymore. If it ever truly was, it has certainly evolved into a starkly one-sided affair, a tired, predictable rerun where Caitlin Clark isn't even remotely in the same conversation, let alone sharing the same screen time. While Angel Reese is passionately consumed with crafting eloquent soliloquies about why the league owes her every imaginable rose, why she's intrinsically entitled to universal adoration and recognition, Clark is, quite simply and profoundly, just playing basketball. She's enduring brutal physical contact, getting unceremoniously clobbered, tossed to the unforgiving floor with jarring frequency, and yet, with an almost otherworldly calm, she continues to drain breathtaking 27-footers from seemingly impossible angles, with the unflappable demeanor of someone meticulously calculating complex tax returns. Clark didn't just run away with the spotlight, she packed it neatly and efficiently in her gym bag, took it home with her, and then, with quiet, relentless, and almost frightening efficiency, began the monumental task of building a basketball empire. She's not competing with individual players or manufactured beefs. She's competing with history itself, with the very concept of legacy, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's believed possible in women's basketball, rewriting the narrative with every swish. Angel, meanwhile, still appears to be tragically locked in a perpetual, frustrating personal battle with her own box score, and far too often, she's unequivocally losing. This glaringly one-sided dynamic is, undeniably, wildly entertaining for viewers, serving up raw, unscripted drama on a gleaming silver platter. Yet, it also sends a crystal-clear, unmistakable signal. While Reese is metaphorically throwing generous amounts of chili powder into the pot, fervently believing she's stirring a culinary masterpiece that will undeniably define the league's flavor, Clark is calmly, unbothered, and with quiet authority, owning the entire secret recipe. It's akin to showing up to a sold-out Beyoncé concert, singing 3 off-key notes from the very last row, and then, with a straight face and baffling sincerity, demanding to know why your name isn't prominently featured in bold letters on the ticket stub. The perceived rivalry exists almost entirely within Angel Reese's public declarations. Her fervent, almost desperate desire for equal footing, her yearning for the same overwhelming, all-consuming attention. Meanwhile, Clark remains utterly unbothered, laser-focused on setting new benchmarks, consistently proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that true generational dominance doesn't require a tireless public relations campaign nor a constant verbal demand for recognition. Her game simply speaks for itself, in volumes. But here's where the true, often overlooked, strategic brilliance of this unfolding drama truly reveals itself, and why this entire spectacle, despite its glaring on-court disparities and the obvious one-sidedness, has become utterly irresistible, a magnetic force drawing millions of eyeballs. The media are not just feasting, they're practically gorging themselves, ravenously consuming every crumb of this unfolding narrative. Every single time Angel Reese opens her mouth, another article practically writes itself, churning out headlines that scream for immediate attention and clicks. Angel Reese speaks out, her latest comments igniting controversy. Angel sends message. Is she calling out the league? Angel's latest comments send shockwaves through the WNBA. She has, whether intentionally or not, transformed into a self-sustaining content machine, tirelessly feeding the insatiable media ecosystem like she's on a massive content farm with an impossible daily quota. And astonishingly, everyone in the industry, from major networks to independent bloggers, plays along because, well, the clicks, the views, the engagement, they are absolutely undeniably delicious, too valuable to ignore. The WNBA itself, a league that has historically battled valiantly for mainstream visibility and consistent cultural relevance, is acutely, intimately aware of the compelling spectacle that is unfolding before its very eyes. They've essentially positioned Caitlin Clark as their golden goose, the undisputed, transcendent, once-in-a-generation star whose face belongs on every foam finger, every prominent billboard, and every single primetime national broadcast. And then, with remarkable shrewdness and undeniable brilliance, there's Angel Reese, the goose that throws shade, the undeniable chaos agent, the perpetually spicy interview waiting to happen, the unscripted moment personified. It's a marketing strategy so audacious in its execution, so brilliant in its calculated risk, it's almost tragic in its candidness. It's pure ratings gold, a masterstroke of sports entertainment. The league shrewdly leverages Clark for her transcendent talent, her record-breaking performances, and her overwhelming, almost universal mass appeal, and then, with equal cunning and strategic foresight, they leverage Reese for her compelling controversy, her fiery, unyielding personality, and her magnetic ability to keep the pot of drama boiling over, ensuring continuous buzz. Angel, in her relentless, almost desperate pursuit of validation and recognition, is fighting a narrative that, in truth, isn't even looking at her directly, isn't acknowledging her as its central figure. Yet, in her very struggle, in her every defiant declaration, she inadvertently generates the precise tension, the compelling side plot that makes people not just tune in initially, but stay tuned in, captivated by the unfolding spectacle. The more the crowd chants Clark's name, the more determined Reese becomes to remind everyone, loudly, clearly, and with undeniable force, that she's here too, and that she matters, fueling a relentless, self-perpetuating cycle of attention, heated debate, and, most crucially for the league's bottom line, soaring eyeballs. This isn't just professional sports, it's an unfiltered, unscripted, high-stakes reality TV show playing out in real time, complete with breathtaking athletic competition, compelling personal narratives, and explosive rivalries. And Angel Reese, whether she ever consciously intended it or not, has unequivocally become one of the most entertaining, indispensable, and certainly unforgettable players in this dramatic must-watch cast. The undeniable villain you love to passionately hate. Or perhaps in the quiet corners of your mind, secretly just love to watch. And that, perhaps more than anything else, brings us to the profound, unspoken truth at the very heart of this entire captivating saga. The deep psychological undercurrent that relentlessly drives Angel Reese's persistent, almost compulsive narrative. When every public statement she utters, every single media interaction she engages in, seems to begin with some variation of, "I deserve credit too," or "I'm the reason this is happening," it starts to sound less and less like genuine, unshakable confidence, and far more like a profound, perhaps painful, deep-seated insecurity, meticulously disguised with a generous, almost blinding sprinkle of glittering bravado. It's the kind of poignant, almost heartbreaking vibe where you painstakingly throw your own extravagant, meticulously planned birthday party, only to find yourself loudly complaining, with a forced smile, because every single guest brought gifts exclusively for your sister. The perception of jealousy isn't subtle. It's brazenly wrapped in that faux confidence, boldly stamped with an "I'm just being real" tagline. It's the creeping, uncomfortable realization that the person you might have once considered your fiercest rival is, in the cruelest twist of fate, actually the fundamental reason camera crews consistently show up, bringing with them the very spotlight you desperately crave. And perhaps the very reason you're even being discussed on national television as a secondary character in their story. Why else would she feel such an incessant, almost pathological need to insert herself into every quote, every press conference, even when no one is asking? It's akin to photobombing a historical photograph with the world's loudest, most attention-demanding Me Too declaration. If you truly believe you are the main character, the undeniable star, the spotlight simply follows. True greatness inherently speaks for itself, resonating far louder than any boast. But by constantly pushing this narrative that she is the unequivocal reason people are watching, Reese, with a cruel and biting irony, inadvertently highlights the exact opposite, that in reality, they were not, in fact, watching her first. She's giving off an unsettling, please clap energy, a raw, almost pathetic plea for external validation in a space already overwhelmingly dominated by another's unarguable, blinding light. A light she desperately wants to share but cannot generate on her own. Yet, despite all the skepticism, the stark statistical realities that consistently undermine her claims, and the collective eye rolls from fans and analysts alike, Angel Reese has undeniably carved out a unique and profoundly impactful niche for herself within this evolving WNBA landscape. She might not be the primary, transcendent reason people initially started watching women's basketball in such explosive droves, but she has unequivocally become a significant, compelling, and arguably essential reason they keep watching day after day, game after game. The electrifying tension she brings, the sheer, unbridled drama that seems to follow her every step, the audacious, almost confrontational confidence of her public persona. It's all undeniably captivating, turning every single game she plays into must-see television, a captivating spectacle beyond mere sport. She has demonstrated an uncanny, almost genius understanding of one simple, fundamental truth in the modern, attention-driven media landscape. If you cannot undeniably be the headline, if your performance alone isn't enough to command the lead story, then you must, by any means necessary, become the irresistible, talked about, debated, and controversial reason the headline exists in the first place. She isn't necessarily striving to be universally beloved, to garner an unending stream of adoration from every corner of the basketball world. No, Her ambition is far more cunning, far more strategic, far more rooted in the realities of viral fame. She's striving to be utterly undeniable, to be impossible to ignore, to be consistently relevant, and in that remarkably specific, often criticized respect, mission accomplished. Love her or hate her, debate her on-court merits, or dismiss her grand claims, Angel Reese is delivering precisely what the WNBA, in its burgeoning, chaotic, and now mainstream glory, seems to thrive on: unpredictable chaos, simmering tension, and a generous, spicy side of undeniable pettiness that keeps the conversations alive. She's the quintessential artist, shaping her own narrative, the sharpest critic, unafraid to challenge norms, and the entire gallery drawing eyes to her performance, all rolled into one dynamic, often polarizing package, perfectly cast in the indelible role of the league's designated drama queen. Because, let's face it, someone has to courageously stir the pot, someone has to defiantly roll their eyes at the league's media darlings, someone has to challenge the accepted narrative, and someone has to stand tall on the scorer's table, metaphorical microphone in hand, fiercely yelling, "Don't you dare forget me, I'm here too!" And that someone, with her signature swagger, loudly, proudly, and always in full lashes, is Angel Reese. Perhaps her true, enduring legacy won't ultimately be found solely in the cold, hard numbers of record books, but rather in the unforgettable, wild, and utterly compelling ride she provides, keeping millions of us endlessly glued to our screens, perpetually wondering what audacious statement she'll utter or what dramatic, unscripted move she'll make next. This isn't just a game, it's a spectacle, a never-ending saga, and she's its most compelling, chaotic, and controversial force.